In the 6th year of helping Shen Yanning build her career, she had become a real estate queen with assets worth 3 billion. And I had no title, no status, not even the right to ride in the elevator at her company. Her personal assistant had already moved into a luxury riverside apartment in her name. But I endured it all until I was stopped by the receptionist. I brought up breaking up again. And Yanning panicked. Lu Yen. My current status isn't suitable for announcing marriage. You need to understand that. But I promise. My husband's position will always be reserved for you. As for Han Ziming, he's been by my side all these years. Fighting alongside me. Calling him my boyfriend is just a comfort. When I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to verify the information, I assumed I was at least the husband she had always kept hidden behind her. The staff member coldly said, "Sir, the system shows that Mr. Han Ziming is listed in the MS Shining Spouse field." This time I didn't hold back, I tore up the invitation on the spot. Status and position are just a comfort, then anyone who wants to be the CEO's husband can sit in that position. Sorry. Sir. You do not have access rights. The receptionist looked at the computer screen. Her tone polite. But a hint of scrutiny flickered in her eyes. I stood in the lobby of the Shen Group, carrying the bird's nest and chicken soup that Nian Ning liked. Employees coming and going around me curiously sized me up. Isn't that Mr.Lu? The one who started the business with President Shen before? Don't talk. President Shen has an assistant named Han now. This guy is outdated. I took out my phone and dialed Shen Ning's number. It rang 8 times. No answer. I dialed again. And it was immediately hung up. A WeChat message popped up, meeting. Don't mess around. 6 years ago. This building was still an unfinished commercial project. I helped Nian Ning acquire the development rights for this land. At that time, I drank with the leaders of the Municipal Construction Committee for 3 consecutive days, vomiting until my bile turned green, and spent 4 days in the hospital. Nian Ning lay beside my hospital bed, crying as she gripped my hand tightly, saying, "Lu Yen, once this building is finished, you can come and go freely. This will be our home. Now, this building has become a landmark of the Shen Group, and I can't even get past the reception desk." A series of hurried footsteps sounded behind me, leather shoes casually tapping on the marble floor. Oh, isn't this brother Lu Yen? Han Ziming was wearing a custom-made suit, his tie adorned with the gold badge of the Shen Group. 2 assistants followed behind him, one carrying a briefcase, the other a coffee. The receptionist's expression immediately changed. She stood up and bowed slightly. "Hello, Assistant Han." Han Ziming smiled and nodded, turning to look at me, feigning surprise. "Brother Lu Yen, why are you being kept out? Didn't President Shen reissue your access card?" He took a step closer, a faint scent of woody cologne emanating from him. "Yes. The building's security has been upgraded recently. It's really difficult for non-employees to get in." He emphasized the words non-employees. I stared at him. "Han Ziming. I'm Shen Yanning's business partner and her fiancé." Han Ziming tilted his head and chuckled. "Brother Lu Yen, there are some identities that President Shen didn't mention. It's to leave you a way out." He raised his right hand and slowly waved it in front of me, the platinum ring on his ring finger sparkling. "President Shen said this ring is too valuable and she's worried you might bump into it and damage it at work. So she asked me to keep it for now. After all, I'm her personal assistant. And keeping valuables for my boss is part of my job. I personally picked out this ring 8 months ago when Yanning and I went to a jewelry exhibition. She said she wanted to keep it as our wedding ring. After several twists and turns, it finally ended up in his hands." I pointed at him. "Move aside." Han Ziming didn't move. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Lu Yen, do you really think you're still an important person in this company? Don't dream. The Shen Group now belongs to both Shen and Han." After saying that, he straightened up, swiped his card at the turnstile, and the turnstile clicked open. He turned around, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Brother Lu Yen, it's very windy outside. Don't let the soup get cold. President Shen has no appetite today. She only wants the wood and stone cuisine I ordered." The receptionist again reached out to stop me. "Sir, please go back." I stood there, watching Han Ziming's figure disappear behind the elevator doors. The insulated lunchbox in my hand suddenly felt heavy, as if filled with lead. I walked to the trash can in the corner of the lobby and poured in the fish and chicken soup that had been simmering for 5 hours, making a crisp, resounding sound. My whole body instantly relaxed, as if I had finally thrown away a worthless piece of trash. That night at 11 o'clock, Shen Yanning returned, reeking of alcohol, mixed with a faint scent of woody perfume, exactly the same as Han Ziming's. As soon as she entered, she collapsed onto the sofa. Lu Yen, get me a glass of water. I sat motionless in the armchair opposite her, flipping through a copy of Business Weekly, not reading a single word. Nian Ning frowned and sat up straight, her tone becoming impatient. What is it now? I already told you I'm busy. Didn't Han Ziming explain to you? The building security system has been completely upgraded. All the old cards are invalid. This isn't targeting you. I put down my magazine. Why can Han Ziming's card be used? Nian Ning's hand paused. He's my assistant. Busy helping me with all sorts of things every day. Work has to come first. Besides, his old place was too far away. The commute affected his work efficiency. So I had him move to that apartment by the river. It's close to the company. Very convenient. That apartment was bought with the first big sum of money I earned from starting my business. The renovation plan was drawn up by me after 3 sleepless nights. And I picked out the furniture piece by piece. I said it was our first home in this city. Now, however, someone else lives there. You promised that we would live in that apartment after we got married. My voice was flat. Nian Ning sighed, stood up and reached out to pull me. But I dodged. Her hand hovered in midair, her face darkening. Lu Yen, when did you become so petty? Han Ziming is an outsider. He came all this way to help me build my career. What's wrong with me taking care of him a little? The house is empty anyway. Let him stay there temporarily. I haven't transferred the deed to him yet. As for the marriage. She paused, her gaze shifting. I'm in the eye of the storm right now. Countless people are watching the Shen family. If I announce my marriage now, my competitors will definitely use it to attack me. Besides, Han Ziming has been with me for so long. Even if he hasn't made any major contributions, he's put in a lot of effort. Everyone outside thinks he's my boyfriend. If I kick you out now, how will he ever succeed? I smiled. So what? Nian Ning looked at me, her tone becoming warm and frank. Lu Yen, you have to understand me. Empty things like titles and status are just a way of repaying Han Ziming for all these years of hard work. Besides, you've been with me for so long. Our relationship doesn't need a piece of paper to prove it. As long as we're connected heart to heart. Does it really matter who my nominal partner is? Status is a reward. Giving up my position is to repay the person who occupies it. This is Nian Ning's logic. So absurd that I even wanted to applaud her. I stood up and looked down at her. What if I insist on this title? Nian Ning's expression instantly turned cold. Lu Yen, don't force me. Han Ziming controls the client resources of several core projects in the company. Going against him now is equivalent to cutting off the Shen family's lifeline. Isn't my career what you care about most? Can't you be more patient for me? Patient. I endured for 6 years. Struggling together in the basement. Eating white flour together. Being insulted by debt collectors together. I endured until she became a real estate queen worth hundreds of millions. While I became a non-employee who couldn't even enter the company gate. And even my own marital home was occupied by someone else. I nodded. I won't force you. Nian Ning breathed a sigh of relief. A smile returning to her face. That's more like it. I knew you were the most sensible. There's an industry forum dinner this Saturday. You don't need to go. Han Ziming can go with me. He needs to attend these kinds of events to expand his network. Stay home and do your best. She reached out to pat my head. But I took a step back. Nian Ning. Since status and position aren't important. Let's get our marriage certificate tomorrow. A secret marriage. No public announcement. No ceremony. Just the certificate. This won't affect your business. And it won't embarrass Han Ziming. Nian Ning froze. The panic in her eyes vanished in an instant. Replaced by even stronger impatience. I have several important meetings tomorrow. The day after tomorrow. And the day after that I have to fly out of town. I pressed closer. Giving her no room to maneuver. Nian Ning suddenly stood up. Lu Yen. When are you going to stop? Is a piece of paper really that important? Do you think I won't love you without that piece of paper? The angry expression on her face was so ugly that it felt like a foreign memory to me. The girl who once ran all over the city comparing prices to buy me a birthday present had long been completely forgotten. It's very important. I looked at her calmly. Very important to me. Nian Ning stared at me for a long time, as if weighing my determination. And finally compromised. Okay. If you insist. Then so be it. But I really can't find the time for the next few days. Next Monday. Next Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau. But Lu Yen. I have to make this clear. Once we get the marriage certificate, this can only be known by the two of us. Absolutely no one else can know. Especially Han Ziming. If this ultimately affects the company's stock price or the project we are negotiating, don't blame me for not showing any feelings. After saying that, she grabbed her coat and stormed out. Slamming the door shut, I'm going back to my office to sleep. So you won't get angry every time you see me. All my strength disappeared. I sat on the sofa, staring at the empty living room. 6 years of youth. And this was all I got in return. For the next few days, Shen Yanning seemed to vanish into thin air. She didn't answer calls, didn't reply to WeChat messages. Meanwhile, Han Ziming's WeChat moments were frequently updated, working until the early hours. The coffee my boss personally brewed gave me a boost. The photo showed a pair of slender hands holding a cup, Yanning's hands. The watch on her wrist was a birthday gift I'd given her last year. Some people are destined to stay in the corner, while I should have been the focus of the spotlight. In the photo, he was wearing a velvet bathrobe, standing on the balcony of his Riverview apartment, holding a wine glass. Yanning's suit jacket casually draped over the back of a chair. My expression remained unchanged. I scrolled past, neither liking nor commenting, but simply saving the screenshots one by one. Monday morning. I deliberately wore a white shirt, paired with those gleaming black leather shoes, the same outfit I wore 6 years ago on the day Yanning confessed her feelings to me. The shirt was a little old, but it still fit. I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau 15 minutes early, at exactly 9 o'clock. But Nian Ning hadn't arrived. 9:30. Still no sign of her. At 10 o'clock, I called Nian Ning, but she hung up. I called Han Ziming, and he answered immediately. Oh, brother Lu Yen. Are you looking for President Chen? Han Ziming's voice was lazy and smug, with the sound of an airport announcement coming from the background. President Chen just boarded a plane. We're going to Fiji to inspect a resort project. We won't be back for about a week. She left in a hurry and left her phone in the car. Let me know if anything comes up. Han Ziming. Let her answer the phone. Oh. The flight attendants told us to turn off our phones. Han Ziming chuckled. Brother Lu Yen. Don't be so clingy. Be a man. Think long term. The call ended. I stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, watching couples come and go. Some were holding hands, laughing and talking. Others were nervous and shy, their cheeks flushed. Only I stood there, like someone being laughed at. But I didn't leave. I turned and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau lobby. Now that I'm here, there are some things I need to clarify. The lobby was bustling with people, and numbers were being called incessantly. I walked to the self-service machine and placed my ID card on it. Instead of clicking on appointment registration, I clicked on marital status inquiry. The loading indicator spun twice, and the result appeared, unmarried. Was I overthinking it? Sir, are you here to handle some business? The machine seems to be a bit slow. You can come to the counter. I turned around and saw a middle-aged woman wearing glasses, with a kind expression on her face. I followed her over. Hello. I have a question. I tried to make my voice sound normal. My girlfriend keeps saying she wants to register our marriage, but she keeps putting it off. I want to confirm if she has already registered. The woman said nonchalantly. That involves someone's privacy, so we can't check directly for you. She paused, seeing my pale face, and felt a pang of pity. However, if you can provide her ID number, I can check if there's an appointment record for her in the system, or if she has already committed to marriage. My hands trembled as I recited the string of numbers I knew by heart. Nian Ning's ID number. The receptionist typed a few words on the keyboard. The screen light reflecting off her glasses. Suddenly, her fingers stopped. Her brow furrowed. And she gave me a complicated look. "Sir, please come in. I can handle it." I gripped the edge of the counter tightly, my nails almost digging into the wood. "The system shows that this Ms. Shen Yanning registered her marriage 3 months ago. 3 months ago. At that time, I was overwhelmed by the company's IPO documents. And I slept on a folding bed in the office for a whole month. Yanning said she was going to another province to discuss a big project and would be away for a month. So, she was going there to get married. Whose name is written in the spouse section?" I heard my own dry voice. As if I were chewing sand. The woman sighed, clearly not wanting to completely shatter my last hope. But under my gaze, she still read it aloud, Han Zimming. I laughed. Laughing until tears streamed down my face. So this is the reward for status. Public marriage is inconvenient. And secret marriage is a complete scam. A scam from beginning to end. She had already given the title to Han Zimming. And even though I was still fighting tooth and nail for her kingdom, she not only stole my achievements and status but also secretly transferred my status as husband to someone else. "Sir, are you alright?" The woman handed me a tissue. I didn't answer. I took a piece of paper out of my pocket. It was a sample invitation Yanning had given me a few days ago. Our names were printed on it with gold edges, along with the words heart to heart. Never to be separated. She said. "Lu Yen. Look. I've prepared everything. When the time is right, we'll release it." Looking back now, it's a complete joke. I tore it in two. The status was just a consolation prize. Whoever wants the CEO husband position can have it. I don't want it anymore. But Lu Yen. What belongs to me? No one can take away even a tiny bit. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. The sunlight was so bright I could barely open my eyes. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Han Zimming. The attached photo was of a blue sea and a white sand beach. He had his arm around Nian Ning's waist. And they were both smiling at the camera. There was only one line, "Brother. Sister-in-law and I have arrived. Take good care of yourself at home." I put my phone away without replying. I opened my contacts and found a number I hadn't contacted in a long time, Lin Chongyang. My college roommate. A partner at Haichuan law firm. Specializing in commercial disputes. 3 years ago. He warned me. "Lu Yen. You're risking your life to help her set up this company. And you don't even have a written agreement. You'll pay for this sooner or later." I didn't listen. Now it's time. The phone rang twice before I answered. "Lu Yen. Chongyang. Are you free now? I'd like to invite you to dinner." The sun must have risen in the west by now. What happened? I was silent for 2 seconds. "Yes. Wait for me downstairs at your law firm." 15 minutes later. Lin Chongyang sat across from me, listening to me explain everything in 20 minutes from beginning to end. He didn't interrupt me. After I finished speaking, he took 3 sips of tea, his expression growing increasingly serious. Before putting down his teacup, "Lu Yen," he said, "let me ask you a few questions first. Please answer truthfully. When you registered the Shen Group, were you on the shareholder register?" I thought for a moment. I was in charge of the company registration at the time. I remember Nian Ning saying she'd register it under her name first. And add me later once the company was stable. Lin Chongyang briefly closed his eyes. Second question, in these 6 years, have you signed any partnership agreements, employment contracts, or equity entrustment agreements? No. I shook my head. She said we're family. We don't need those. Lin Chongyang closed his eyes again. Third question, have you invested any money in the company? I sold the old house my father left me and transferred all 4 million to her account. To her personal account or the company account? Personal account. Lin Chongyang tapped the table twice with his fingers. Lu Yen. I'll be blunt. Based on what you've told me, you have no legal equity relationship with the Shen Group. No agreement. No contract. You're not even a formal employee. The 4 million you transferred to her personal account will be very difficult to get back unless you can prove it was a loan or investment. Simply put, if she turns against you, your 6 years of hard work will be wasted. I gripped my cup tightly, my knuckles turning white. So, I really have no other choice. Lin Changyang looked at me and suddenly asked an unrelated question. What did you do when you helped her register the company? I did almost everything. Company registration. Taxes. Opening bank accounts. Trademark registration. Wait. Lin Changyang raised his hand to stop me. Trademark registration. Whose name should the core brand trademark of the Shin Group be registered under? I froze. A thought flashed through my mind. 6 years ago. On that rainy afternoon. I spent the whole day running around the trademark office. Nian Ning thought it was too much trouble and dumped everything on me. You handle it. When I filled out the form in the applicant section, I filled in my name. The trademark for the core brand, Nian Ning Bei, of the Shin Group is registered under my name. I slowly raised my head. Lin Changyang leaned back in his chair, revealing a smile I had never seen in the 10 years I had known him. Lu Yen. Do you know how much the Nian Bei trademark is worth now? 70% of the Shin Group's revenue is tied to this brand. If this trademark is revoked, half of her development project sales contracts will be in trouble. This is your biggest trump card. I sat there, my mind a mess. 6 years had passed, and I had completely forgotten about this. Nianing had obviously forgotten as well. Or rather, she hadn't cared at all. In her eyes, everything was what I was supposed to do. Processing documents was a matter of course. Staying up all night to draft proposals was a matter of course. Drinking with clients was a matter of course. Until I was vomiting blood. So she didn't even bother to ask me whose name I registered what. Changyang. I looked at him. Could you help me check the current shareholding structure of the Shin Group? I want to know if she has ever transferred any shares to Han Ziming. Lin Changyang took out his phone, opened an application, and entered the credit code of Shin's Group. A few seconds later, he turned the screen to me. Shin's Group had a registered capital of 200 million yuan and only 2 shareholders. Shen Yening held 62% of the shares, and Han Ziming held 38%. My name had never appeared. Based on the current valuation of Shin's Group, the equity under Han Ziming's name is worth more than 1 billion yuan. Lin Changyang read. I sold the only inheritance my father left me to help her start her business. And then she transferred shares worth 1 billion yuan to her assistant. Are you still considering it? Lin Changyang closed his phone and looked at me. I shook my head. Help me fight this lawsuit. Not just to get back the trademark. I want her to return the 4 million yuan investment. I want to demand the distribution of partnership rights. And I also want to investigate whether there were any concealed transfer issues in Han Ziming's acquisition of the equity. Lin Changyang took out a power of attorney from his briefcase and handed it to me. Sign it starting today. I am your lawyer. Lu Yen. This lawsuit will not be easy. But the trademark is in your hands. And the one who should really panic is Shen Yening. I signed my name. The pen tip almost piercing the paper. It was late when I left the law firm. My phone vibrated again. It was Nianing's WeChat message. I'm back at the airport. Why aren't you home yet? Where did you go? I stared at it for 3 seconds without replying. I put my phone in my pocket and hailed a taxi. Driver. Take me to Riverview Apartments. When I arrived at the Riverview Apartments, I looked up at the light on the 16th floor. It was on. I swiped my spare access card at the downstairs door. I knew very well that if this card was also deactivated, I would have nowhere to go. The green light was on. It still worked. It seemed Han Ziming hadn't had time to change the door yet. The elevator reached the 16th floor, and I stood in front of the walnut door I had personally chosen. I took out my key and inserted it. But it wouldn't turn. The lock had been changed. I rang the doorbell, and 10 seconds later the door opened. Han Ziming stood in the doorway, wearing my slippers and a loose silk pajama top. He paused for a moment when he saw me, then smiled. Brother Lu Yen. Coming so late. I glanced inside. The living room was completely different. The walnut sofa I had chosen was gone, replaced by a set of Italian minimalist-style leather sofas. On the coffee table were 2 unfinished glasses of red wine. The other one still had a lipstick stain on it. I'm here to pick something up. My voice was calm. There's a blue folder in the cabinet on the 2nd floor of the study. It's my personal files. Han Ziming leaned against the doorframe, tilting his head. Brother Lu Yen. This house is under President Shin's name. Where did your stuff come from? He patted his forehead, pretending to just remember. Oh. I found a bunch of random stuff in the cabinet. It was taking up too much space. So I had the cleaning lady move it too. It should be there now. He thought for a moment. The recycle bin. I clenched my fingers tightly. That folder contained all my design competition award certificates from university. And a handwritten letter from my father, the one he wrote to me before he passed away. Hans Zimming. I stared into his eyes. You lost these things. Hey. Don't say that. Hans Zimming stretched. It's nothing valuable. Just a bunch of old certificates and yellowed letters. But I've already packed them up for you, they're in that cardboard box by the door. I looked down. The remaining clothes were haphazardly stuffed into a cardboard box. Along with a few pairs of old shoes and a photo frame. The photo frame contained a picture of Nienning and me taken at the construction site during our first year of starting our business. The photo had been folded once. The crease separating us in the middle. Oh. Right. Hans Zimming turned and walked to the entryway cabinet. Pulled out a drawer. Took out a document. And slammed it on the shoe cabinet. President Shen asked me to give this to you. I picked up the document and opened it. There were only 2 thin sheets of paper. The title was Confirmation of Termination of Cohabitation Relationship. The content was roughly, Lu Yan and Shen Nienning were in a non-marital cohabitation relationship, which both parties voluntarily terminated. During the cohabitation period, Lu Yan did not claim any property rights or interests. There was a signature field at the bottom. Shen Nienning's name was already signed. And only my signature was left. President Shen said that if you sign as soon as possible, she can compensate you with an additional 500,000 yuan. Hans Zimming leaned against the door frame and smiled leisurely. After all these years, it's time to give you some hardship fee of tens of thousands of yuan. I sold my family's assets. Invested 4 million. 6 years of my youth. My heart and soul. The designs. The negotiations with clients. Every sleepless night, and they actually think they can get rid of me for 500,000. I put the documents back in the shoe cabinet. I won't sign. Hans Zimming's smile faded slightly. Brother Lu Yan. I advise you to think it over carefully. President Shen has already shown enough sincerity. If you don't know what's in your best interest, what happens next won't be so polite. Polite. I laughed. You live in the house I renovated. Wear clothes bought with the money I earned from my designs. Wear the ring that should belong to me. Sleep in the bed I made. And then you talk to me about dignity. Hans Zimming's expression finally changed. Lu Yan. Don't be so ungrateful in this company. You are nothing. Your name isn't in the company. You have no shares. No contract. What right do you have to compete with me? I'm taking what I deserve. I turned around. Picked up the cardboard box. And walked into the elevator without looking back. The moment the elevator doors closed, I heard Hans Zimming say coldly, Lu Yan. You'll regret this. I didn't look back. Back in my rented room. I put the cardboard box on the floor and took out the photo frame to look at the picture inside. Both of us in the photo were smiling. We were covered in dust back then. And we couldn't even afford decent hard hats on the construction site. But our laughter was so genuine. I took the photo out of the frame. Picked up the scissors along the crease. And neatly cut it in half. I threw Nienning's half into the trash can. And stuffed my half into my wallet, not because I was reluctant to part with it, but to remind myself how insistent I had been. My phone lit up. It was Nienning calling. I answered. Lu Yan. Did you go to the Riverview apartment today? Her tone carried a hint of suppressed anger. I went to get something. Hans Zimming said I refused to sign that confirmation letter. Lu Yan. Think it over carefully. That document is the best option for you. Sign it quietly. Take the 500,000 yuan. And we can part amicably. If you don't sign, I have many other ways to make you leave with nothing. Don't forget. There's no evidence in the company to prove you have any connection with the Shen family. I was silent for a few seconds. Nienning. Are you sure? What do you mean? Are you sure I have absolutely no connection with the Shen family? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. What do you mean? Think carefully. Who was in charge of all the procedures back then, company registration and trademark registration? Nienning fell silent. I hung up the phone early. The next morning, I received 2 calls. The first was from Lin Changyang. I stayed up all night checking. And that the Nian Ningbei trademark is indeed under your name. But what's even more interesting is that in the past few years, the Shin Group has registered a total of 14 sub-brand trademarks, 9 of which are registered under your name. Back then, she entrusted you with the entire trademark registration process. And you filled in your personal information, she never asked you to make any changes. In other words, legally speaking, over 80% of the Shin Group's brand assets belong to you, Lu Yen. I leaned back in my chair, speechless. The laziness and trust of 6 years ago had become my biggest leverage. The second call came from an unknown number. I answered. And the voice on the other end was steady and strong, Lu Yen. This is Zhao Jingyuan. I immediately straightened up. Zhao Jingyuan. A legendary figure in the industry. Started from scratch 20 years ago and now heads Huan Capital, managing assets exceeding 30 billion. More importantly, he was my professor for my business planning course in university. During my senior year, he admired me, saying I had the talent of a trader and wanted me to join the industry. But at the time, Nian Ning cried and begged me to help her start a business. And I refused Mr. Zhao's invitation. I hadn't contacted him since. Mr. Zhao, how did you get my phone number? Lin Changyang called me last night. He's my nephew. I heard about your situation from him. Lu Yen. It was right of me to see your potential back then. But the path you chose was indeed too narrow. It's not too late to make amends now. Come to Huan Capital at 10 a.m. tomorrow and bring all your documents. I'm not here to pity you, I'm here to see if you still have a chance of winning this game. After hanging up, I stood by the window, gazing at the Shin Group building in the distance. Its lights had been on for 6 years. I'd been living in its shadow for a long time. It was time to step out and bask in the sunlight. The next morning, in Zhao Jingyuan's office at Huan Capital headquarters, he spent 40 minutes carefully reviewing all the materials I'd brought: trademark registration certificate, transfer records, chat screenshots, friend activity screenshots, and audio backups. Then he closed the folder, took off his reading glasses, and looked at me. You have a good hand. The trademark is your strongest asset. The 4 million transfer record can serve as evidence of your investment. And the chat records and screenshots can prove your actual participation. But your biggest problem is the lack of a written agreement, making it difficult to prove you're a partner. If the other party insists you helped voluntarily, it will be difficult for you to refute it. So you can only take a roundabout approach, using the trademark as leverage to force the other party to sit down and negotiate. I nodded. That's what I was thinking too. Zhao Jingyuan looked at me for a moment. Lu Yen, do you just want to take back what's rightfully yours? Or do you want to wage a real counterattack? What do you mean? If you just want to take back what's rightfully yours, I can negotiate for you. The final compensation will only be a few tens of millions. But if you want to do something bigger. He picked up a document from the table and pushed it towards me. Huan Capital is examining a new urban renewal project. This is the preliminary plan. I opened it and looked at it. The project site was in that old town, right next to the Shin Group headquarters. If the project started, its scale would be at least 3 times that of the Shin Group. The first version of the business plan you prepared for Nian Ning was the most ambitious plan I've ever seen. More than 3 times better than the version she ultimately implemented. Unfortunately, she lacked foresight and only adopted the most conservative parts of your plan. Lu Yen, do you want to take that plan back and make it a reality in your own name? I looked at the document, my hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but because for the first time in 6 years, someone had said to me, you deserve more. I do. Okay. Zhao Jingyuan stood up. Tomorrow I'll arrange for you to meet with Huan Capital's investment team to begin due diligence. Meanwhile, you continue to push forward with the trademark issue and legal procedures. Remember one thing. Lu Yen, in business, there are no feelings, only interests. Your feelings for Nian Ning cost you 6 years, don't let them hold you back any longer. When I left Huan Capital, the sun was shining brightly. The window of my rented 20 square meter single room faced a gray wall. But it didn't matter, I couldn't stay there much longer. That afternoon, when I returned to my place, a woman was standing at the door. It was Ying, the former marketing director of Shin's Group. The one Han Ziming had fired 2 years ago. She had lost a lot of weight. But her eyes were still sharp, Lu Yen. I heard you and Nian Ning had a falling out. News spreads quickly, the circle is only so big. I'm not here to watch the drama, I have something I want to show you. She handed me a USB drive containing the team's financial transaction records and internal email backups from the past 3 years. I took the USB drive and looked at her. Why are you giving me this? 2 years ago, when Han Ziming used the same methods to fire me, not a single person in the entire company stood up for me. Even Nian Ning told me personally. If Ziming says you're not performing well, then you're not performing well. I was fired and got nothing. Not even my year-end bonus. I've kept these things for 2 years. Waiting for this moment. Lu Yen. Now the opportunity has come. If you can bring them down, it will also allow me to vent my anger. I took the USB drive without hesitation. Thank you. You're welcome. She turned and took 2 steps. Then stopped. I have to warn you. There are several very suspicious entries in those financial records. Han Ziming transfers a sum of money to an overseas account every month under the guise of brand consulting fees. The amount isn't large, but it adds up to more than 20 million. Nian Ning may or may not know. But either way, it's enough to make them suffer. Left. I went back to my room, plugged in the USB drive, turned on my computer, and went through the financial transaction records. I found the brand consulting fee mentioned, ranging from 300,000 to 500,000 yuan per month, with the recipient being a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. Then I opened the internal email backup and searched for Han Ziming's name. An email from 3 months ago popped up. Sender, Han Ziming, recipient, Shen Yening, subject, regarding equity adjustment plan. The body of the email contained only one sentence, sister. I've taken care of things with Lu Yen. The company will no longer have any dealings with him. The attachment is the revised company Articles of Association, you just need to sign it. The attachment was the revised Articles of Association of Shen's group. The change being the removal of Lu Yan's name from the remarks section of the founding team. I stared at the text on the screen, reading it line by line. It was handled very well, clearly and explicitly, in black and white. This wasn't negligence or forgetfulness, it was deliberate obliteration. I took a screenshot of the email and sent it to Lin Changyang. 3 minutes later, he replied, the chain of evidence is becoming more and more complete. 3 cases were filed simultaneously: trademark ownership confirmation, capital recovery, and intellectual property infringement. I'll file them tomorrow. I shut down my computer and lay on the bed. There was a crack in the ceiling, crooked and uneven, but it was still better than Nian Ning and Han Ziming's faces. 3 days later, the Shin Group's legal department received a court summons that same day. Nian Ning's phone received an email notification from the trademark office. Lu Yen, the trademark registrant for the Nian Ning Bei brand, had submitted a written statement to the trademark office, demanding that the Shin Group immediately cease using the trademark. I stopped waiting at the entrance of the Shin Group building, because it was Nian Ning's turn to come looking for me next. As expected, at 8 o'clock that evening, there was a violent banging on the door of my rented single room. Lu Yen, open the door. Nian Ning's voice came from outside, urgent and angry. I slowly walked over and opened the door. She stood in the narrow corridor, wearing a black coat that exuded authority, but her eyes were bloodshot. Han Ziming followed behind her, his face gloomy. Are you crazy? Nian Ning rushed in and shoved her phone screen in my face. What does this mean? A trademark declaration. A court summons. Are you going to sue me? That's right. I'm your girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. I corrected her. And you're already Han Ziming's wife. Don't get it wrong. Nian Ning's face turned deathly pale. Han Ziming stood behind her, staring coldly at me. How did you know? The Civil Affairs Bureau has already checked. When you registered your marriage 3 months ago, Han Ziming was listed as your spouse. I looked at her. Nian Ning. How long are you going to keep up this act? Nian Ning opened her mouth but said nothing. Han Ziming stepped forward. Lu Yen. Do you think you can threaten the Shen family with a few useless trademarks? You're too naive. Trademarks can be revoked, we have a whole legal team. You're just a penniless, powerless nobody. Can you afford such a lawsuit? I picked up a document from the table and handed it to Nian Ning. This is a formal letter from my lawyer on my behalf. The content is simple. First, I demand that the Shin Group cease using all trademarks registered in my name. Second, I demand the return of the 4 million yuan principal invested 6 years ago, as well as subsequent profits. Third, I assert my right to profit distribution as a de facto shareholder. You have 30 days to reply. If you miss the deadline, we'll see each other in court. Nian Ning flipped through the document twice, her expression shifting from anger to complexity. She looked up at me. Lu Yen, are you really going to take this to the extreme? You were the one who brought things to this point first. The room fell silent. Han Ziming suddenly laughed. Fine. Lu Yen, you want to go to court? Right. Then let's go to court. Shin's group has 8 lawyers in their legal team, with an annual legal budget of 30 million. You just rent a small 20 square meter apartment. What kind of lawyer can you afford? He leaned closer to me. Don't say I didn't warn you. This kind of case won't be completed in 3 to 5 years. And the legal fees alone will be enough to bankrupt you. I opened the door. Please go back. The door is too small. It can't fit so many people. Nian Ning stood at the door and glanced back at me. Her eyes filled with anger, surprise, and a trace of emotion I couldn't understand. Lu Yen, you've changed. You're the one who made me like this. The door closed. I leaned against the door, my palms sweating. But for the first time, I felt an unprecedented calm welling up inside me. The next day, I went to Huan Capital to meet Zhao Jingyuan's investment team. 6 people sat around the conference table, each with a project proposal that I had prepared overnight in front of them. The framework of this proposal originates from a business plan I prepared for Nian Ning 6 years ago. She said that plan was too aggressive and only adopted the most conservative 30% of it. Now, I have added the remaining 70% based on the latest market data and made revisions. After reading the last page, the investment director of Huan Capital looked up and said, Mr. Zhao, this business plan is very reliable. Zhao Jingyuan looked at me. Lu Yen, what name do you plan to give the new company? I thought for a while. Xian. Xian. Saying goodbye to the past and looking to the future. Zhao Jingyuan nodded. Good. Huan Capital will lead this round of financing as an institutional investor. With an initial investment of 50 million. You will hold 60% of the shares. And Huan Capital will hold 40%. Complete the company registration next week. And at the same time start the preliminary work on the urban renewal project. After leaving the meeting room, Lin Changyang called to say that the cases had been successfully filed. The court has accepted 3 cases, a trademark ownership dispute, the return of unjust enrichment, and the confirmation of the validity of the partnership agreement. The trademark ownership case is being heard the fastest and may be completed within 2 months. The other 2 cases still need to be arranged for hearings and may take 3 to 4 months. There's one more thing. He lowered his voice. I got some information. Han Ziming urgently hired a partner from Haiyan Law Firm as his private lawyer through internal channels. Note that it's not the legal team of Shin's group, but someone he hired himself. Why hire someone else? I suspect it's because of the financial data Ing gave you. If the brand consulting fee issue is exposed, it will become a matter of him personally misappropriating company assets, which conflicts with the interests of the Shin Group. He needs to draw a clear line between his interests and Nian Ning's. This means he's already starting to shirk responsibility. Yes. So you have to be careful with every step from now on. These 2 people seem to be on the same side. But in reality, they each have their own ulterior motives. I hung up the phone and stood on the overpass, looking at the endless stream of cars below. The last time I stood here, I was thinking about how to help Nian Ning sell 200 more sets of equipment. This time, I'm thinking about how to take back everything that belongs to me. Not a single penny less. The news spread faster than I expected. In just 3 days, the lawsuit against the Shin Group spread throughout the entire industry. My phone started receiving messages one after another. Some people were curious. Some were gloating. And some were testing my stance. But what surprised me the most was a WeChat message from Song Minan. Song Minan is one of the Shin Group's largest corporate clients and the founder of the chain hotel brand Minguan Hotel. 6 years ago, the first commercial complex project that Shin's Group acquired was the Minguan Hotel. And I was the one who negotiated with Song Minan at that time. That year, he brought a 7-person team to inspect the site. And I spent 3 hours with him in -8 degrees Celsius. Explaining the entire commercial cycle design on the construction site. He made a phone call and signed the contract on the spot. After signing the contract, he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Xiao Lu, given the professionalism you've shown, I accept this contract." Since then, Song Minan has taken over 4 more projects from Shin's group. But all subsequent coordination work was handled by Han Ziming. Song Minan's WeChat message contained only one sentence, "Xiao Lu, I heard you've gone solo. Let's find time to meet." I only replied with one word, "Okay." Before I met Song Minan, something more urgent happened. Shin's group launched a counterattack against me. An article titled "Former Employee of Shin's Group Maliciously Misuses Trademarks. Suspected of Commercial Fraud" was published in 3 industry media outlets. In the article, I was portrayed as a former employee who abused my position to register company trademarks in my own name. The wording was harsh and the description precise. Clearly the work of a professional public relations team. The article concluded with a statement from Shin's legal department, stating that they would pursue legal action against me. I was eating a bowl of clear soup noodles when I saw this article on my phone, and continued eating after reading it. Lin Changyang called 10 minutes later, "Did you see that? They're so despicable. First, they use the media to create public pressure. Then they use public opinion to influence the court's decision, while simultaneously isolating your social relationships and making potential partners wary of you. Are you scared? No. Should we fight back? Don't rush. I put down my chopsticks. Let them shoot their arrows first. I have even more ruthless methods." What? When the Shin Group was registered, the materials included a founder's memorandum. This document was handwritten by Nian Ning, clearly stating in black and white that I am a co-founder of the company and have partner rights. Do you have that memorandum? I have a copy. The original is in the attachment to the trademark registration documents. I also attached a copy when I submitted the trademark application. Even Nian Ning herself doesn't remember this. Lin Changyang was silent for a full 3 seconds on the other end of the line. "You set this trap 6 years ago. It wasn't intentionally left, I just submitted the materials I had on hand." Lu Yen. Sometimes fate helps you. It's more effective than a lawyer. I hung up and opened another chat window. Ing sent a new message. Shin's group held an emergency internal meeting today. During the meeting, Han Ziming said he wanted to ruin you and humiliate you. Interestingly, Nianing didn't say a word the entire time. A minute later, she sent another message. My former colleague said that after the meeting, Nianing sat alone in her office for a long time. On her desk was the company development blueprint you drew back then. I looked at this message, feeling nothing at all. 6 years ago, I drew Shin's group's 10-year development plan on an A3 sheet of paper with a pencil. Every project milestone and every expansion route was discussed by her and me while eating instant noodles in the basement. Later, when the company moved into the office building, she framed that paper and hung it on the office wall. After Han Ziming arrived, that chart was taken down and replaced with a contemporary oil painting. Now she's brought out that photograph again. It's a pity the person who drew it is no longer alive. 3 days later, dinner with Song Minan was arranged at a private restaurant. There were only the 2 of us in the private room. Song Minan, though over 50 with graying hair, was still very energetic. The first thing he did after sitting down wasn't to exchange pleasantries, but to pull a piece of paper from his briefcase and slam it on the table. "Xiao Lu, take a look at this." I picked it up and saw it, a business letter recently sent by the Shin Group to the Minguang Hotel. The gist was that the Shin Group was about to launch a brand upgrade strategy, and the existing Nian Ning Wan product line would gradually replace its brand logo, requesting the cooperation of all partners. They changed the trademark privately. I saw through it immediately. Yes. Song Minan nodded. I knew something was wrong as soon as I saw this letter. A brand that had been carefully built over 6 years. And they wanted to change it like this. They were too busy to even communicate beforehand. Later I found out what had happened between you. Xiao Lu. How do you plan to handle this? My lawyer is developing a strategy. But I also need to take action. I'm preparing a new project. I handed him a condensed version of Xian's business plan. Song Minan took the book and flipped through it for 2 minutes. Urban renewal. The construction site is right next to Shin's group's land. Half intentional, Half because the land is indeed quite good. Song Minan chuckled. Closing the file, Xiao Lu. When Shen's group signed its first project, 80% of the credit went to your face. Your plan. And your professional attitude. The Han Ziming I met later can be summed up in 8 words: flamboyant, superficial, and empty. I'm very interested in your new project. The 4 new hotel site selection projects currently under negotiation for the Minguan Hotel were originally planned to be located within Shen's group's mixed-use development project. Now I want to include them in your Xian project. Will you accept them? I grasped his hand. Take them. Okay. Song Minan stood up. I'll have my lawyer handle the contract matters. Next week I'll arrange for an inspection team to visit your project site. He walked to the door and turned back to say, 6 years ago I said that you, this young man, would definitely achieve something in the future. It's a pity you followed the wrong person back then. It was late when I left the private restaurant. And I stood by the roadside waiting for a car. My phone vibrated again. It was a text from Nian Ning, Lu Yen. Did you see Song Minan? Your information network is really good. I didn't reply. 10 seconds later. Another message came. Song Minan is Shen's group's biggest client. If you dare to poach him, I will never let you off the hook. I typed a few lines. Let's go to the Maldives. Oh no. Wait. I mean Fiji. After sending it, I turned off my phone. From that day on, things started to accelerate. Xian Technology's business license was completed within a week. And it had already received a 50 million investment from Huan Capital. I rented a 200 square meter office as a temporary workspace and assembled a team of 12 people. 3 of whom came from Shen's group, all former employees who had been suppressed by Han Ziming. When I left, no one tried to stop me. Now they all followed me, full of energy and enthusiasm. Meanwhile, progress was also made in the courts. The first case to be heard was a trademark ownership dispute. Shen's legal team came out in full force. 8 lawyers occupied half of my row of seats, with only Lin Changyang present. After the judge read the case facts, several industry journalists sat in the audience. Shen's group's chief lawyer spoke first, arguing that although the plaintiff, Lu Jiqiang, was the registered trademark owner, his actions constituted an abuse of power, using the company name to seek improper personal gain, and that the actual trademark rights should belong to Shen's group. He submitted a list of evidence, including Shen's group's advertising records and brand promotion budget details, attempting to prove that the trademark's commercial value was created by Shen's group. When it was Lin Changyang's turn to speak, he stood up and spoke steadily, each word clear and distinct. Your Honor, the plaintiff has 3 points to make. First, Lu Yen has never signed any form of employment contract with the Shen Group. Therefore he has no basis for fulfilling his duties. The plaintiff's claim that he abused his power for personal gain is logically untenable. Second, when the plaintiff submitted the trademark registration application, all fees were paid from Lu Yan's personal account, as evidenced by bank transaction records. Third, and most importantly, Lin Changyang took a document from his briefcase and handed it to the court clerk. This is the founder's memorandum personally signed by the founder, Shen Yening. When the Shen Group was registered, the memorandum clearly states that Lu Yen is a co-founder of the Shen Group and enjoys the rights of a company partner. The original document is kept in the registration archives of the State Trademark Office and can be reviewed and verified. Chaos erupted in the courtroom. The Shen family's legal team was clearly unprepared for this move. The chief lawyer spoke a few words in a low voice to his team members behind him with an extremely serious expression. After recording all the matters, the judge adjourned the court, and the verdict would be announced at a later date. As I walked out of the courthouse, Nianing's car was parked on the side of the road. She stood by the car door, her face ashen, while Han Ziming stood behind her, his lips pressed tightly together. Nianing called out to me, and I stopped. What exactly do you want? I told you. I want what's mine. What belongs to you. These trademarks are yours. The company is yours. Me. Nianing. Am I yours? I registered these trademarks. I invested the funds. I submitted the proposals. And I negotiated the clients myself. I glanced at her. As for you, Shen Nianing, you've long since become Han Ziming's. I don't want you anymore. Nianing was speechless, choked by these words. Han Ziming took a half step forward. Lu Yen. I don't think you're anything special just because you registered some trademarks. The authenticity of that founder's memorandum still needs to be verified. Do you think the court will accept it so easily? Why are you in such a hurry? I glanced at him. By the way, President Han, have you been very busy lately? I heard you hired another private lawyer. Since your legal budget is so ample, do you still need to spend money on others? Han Ziming's expression changed. For example, those who charge consulting fees have hundreds of thousands flowing into overseas accounts every month. Does President Shen know about this money? My gaze turned to Nian Ning. Nian Ning froze. How much is the brand consulting fee? Han Ziming suddenly turned to look at me. Nonsense. Whether it's absurd or not, the audit results will speak for themselves. I turned and left. Behind me, I heard Han Ziming explaining something to Nian Ning. I didn't hear what he said. Nor did I need to. The matter was settled. For the next 2 weeks, I waited for the court's verdict while pushing forward with the Xi'an project. 3 things happened during that time. The first thing Song Minen's inspection team did after visiting the Xi'an project site was to formally sign a letter of intent for cooperation, transferring all 4 hotel site selection projects from the Shen Group. The day the news reached the Shen Group, Han Ziming slammed his cup on his desk. The second thing was that the Shen Group launched an internal audit. Nian Ning personally ordered a thorough investigation into the flow of all brand consulting fees at the board meeting. Han Ziming was deathly pale and remained silent throughout. The third thing was that a man claiming to be Chen Jing came to see me. Chen Jing was the head of Jing's real estate, a competitor of the Shen family. According to industry rumors, the Jing and Shen families had been fighting over the Nanqing land for 3 years, and the battle was still unresolved. He invited me to dinner. Lu Yen. Let's get straight to the point. I know there's a rift between you and Nian Ning, and I know you have influence over her. Let's cooperate. You help me secure that land in Nanqing, and I'll give you 20% of the project's profits. What can I do for you? Use your trademark. As long as the Nanqing project stops using the Nian Ningbei brand, Shen's Group's bidding proposal will lose its brand premium, and the contract will naturally be in our favor. I put down my chopsticks. Mr. Chen, you must have investigated my background before you came to me. Right. Of course. Then you should know that Xi'an is my creation. I'm not someone else's pawn. Chen Jing smiled. Straightforward. I like that. But please think about it carefully. My proposal won't affect your independence. You can want what you want. And I can want what I want. We can all get what we need. No. I stood up. I will make good use of my trademark. Thank you, Mr. Chen. As I walked out of the restaurant after dinner, Lin Changyang called. The court's verdict has been delivered. In the first instance judgment of the trademark ownership case, Lu Yen was found to own 9 brand trademarks, including the Nian Ning Wan trademark. Shen's Group's counterclaim was dismissed on the grounds that there was insufficient evidence to prove the trademark registration was work-related, and that the founder's memo had been certified as an authentic document. However, during the appeal process, the trademark ownership remained unchanged. 6 years ago, on that rainy afternoon, I stood under a street lamp, soaked to the bone, having spent the entire day at the trademark office, while Nian Ning was at home binge-watching a TV series and only sent one WeChat message. Honey, you've worked so hard. Now, those things she once found too troublesome have become her greatest weaknesses. Changyang. Is the next step of the plan ready? Tomorrow we will formally issue a notice to the Shen Group to cease using the infringing trademark. If they continue to use it, they will be fined 500,000 yuan per day. I hung up the phone and took 2 steps forward. I stepped on something and looked down. It was a fallen leaf. Autumn has arrived. Autumn in this city always arrives unexpectedly. Just like some people betray others. That afternoon, the same day the trademark objection letter was sent to the Shen Group, Nian Ning convened an emergency board meeting. I wasn't present, but Ing told me the news immediately. The meeting was a complete failure. The Shen Group's 5 currently selling residential projects all use the Nian Ningbei brand. If they are forced to stop using it, all promotional materials, contract templates, and the 6 systems in the sales center will need to be replaced, costing over 30 million yuan. Han Ziming proposed urgently registering an alternative trademark. But the legal side stated that it takes at least 6 months from application to approval of a new trademark. During this 6-month brand vacuum period, the Shin Group's market share will be enough for competitors to erode a large portion. Nian Ning inquired about the possibility of an out-of-court settlement with Lu Yen. But Han Ziming firmly opposed it. We can't give Lu Yen any chance to gain the upper hand. The two argued during the meeting. Han Ziming said, I was the one who first suggested kicking him out. And you agreed without hesitation. Nian Ning said. You told me then that he wouldn't resist. After reading this message, I put my phone on the table. Ing sent another one, by the way. The audit results are out. Over the past 3 years, Han Ziming transferred 27 million to overseas accounts through brand consulting fees. Nian Ning only found out about this today. And she overturned the table on the spot during the meeting. 27 million. I sold my house and invested 4 million in 6 years. Han Ziming moved 27 million away in 3 years. It wasn't until someone pointed at Nian Ning's face and questioned her that she finally remembered to check the accounts. The person she helped was truly absurd. At 9 o'clock that night, my doorbell rang. I opened the door. And Nian Ning was standing alone at the door. There was no Han Ziming. No lawyer. No assistant. She was wearing an ordinary trench coat. Her hair loose. And her eyes were a little red. May I come in and sit for a while? Her tone was no longer condescending, it even carried a hint of caution. I stepped aside to let her in. She sat in my only chair and looked around the tiny apartment. Barely 20 square meters, a bed. A table. A clothes rack. You live in a place like this. You gave the house to Han Ziming. Where am I supposed to live? She lowered her head and remained silent for a long time. Then she looked up. Lu Yen. I really didn't know anything about the brand consulting fee. I didn't ask you that. I know. But I want you to know that I was really deceived by Han Ziming. He told me that the money was for brand promotion and that there was a formal contract and invoice. But I didn't investigate carefully. Didn't you check or didn't want to check? Her lips moved but she didn't refute. Lu Yen. I'm not here today for Han Ziming. I want to talk to you about the trademark issue. Your lawyer can communicate directly with my lawyer. I don't want to go through a lawyer. She stood up and walked towards me. I want to talk to you face to face. Name your price. How much do you want to transfer the trademark rights for? I won't transfer it. What do you want? I've already said it. I want to take back what belongs to me, my investment of 4 million plus the 6-year partnership equity distribution calculated based on the current valuation of Shen's group of 3 billion. My share should be no less than 500 million. Nian Ning's face came closer. 500 million. Are you crazy? Do you think that's a lot? 6 years ago, when you had nothing, I poured all my savings into giving you everything. 6 years later, your net worth will reach 3 billion. You'll have to repay me 500 million. Is that a lot? This 500 million isn't compensation, it's what I deserve. Nian Ning's fingers twisted tightly together. I can't come up with 500 million. The company's cash flow isn't sufficient. And most of our assets are invested in projects. Then let's negotiate slowly. But the premise of this dialogue is that we first need to solve one problem. I stared into her eyes. Han Ziming. How do you want me to deal with him? You don't need to deal with his affairs. You need to find out exactly how much money he stole from the company. And then, if necessary, call the police and hold him accountable. You are the major shareholder of Shen's group, this is your responsibility to the company. This has nothing to do with me. Nian Ning remained silent for a long time. He is my legal husband. Then you need to choose between your husband and the company. Don't forget. Back then you also made me choose between our status and the company. And you chose this company. Now it's your turn. Nian Ning stared at me. Her lips trembling slightly. Lu Yen. You weren't like this before. Old Lu Yen died at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I opened the door. It's late. She walked out. Stood in the corridor for a few seconds. Then suddenly turned around. Lu Yen. If I hadn't. There are no ifs. The door closed. The next day, Shen's group issued an announcement. The company decided to conduct a comprehensive audit of its financial accounts for the past 3 years. And the management authority of some senior managers would be temporarily adjusted during the audit. Han Ziming's name had been quietly removed from the core team page of the company website. That day, I received Chen Jing's second invitation. This time, instead of inviting me to dinner, he sent me a message on WeChat, mr.lu. The bidding for the Nanqing land plot will end next week. I've offered 1.2 billion. If you're willing to invest in the development project under the Nianingbei brand, I can give you 30% equity and project decision-making power in this $1.2 billion project. You don't need to invest a single penny. 30% equals 360 million. Free. The only condition is that he's allowed to use my brand trademark in the bidding. I stared at the message for 10 seconds and replied with 2 words, no. After sending it, I called Lin Changyang. If Xian bids for the Nanqing land himself, is there still time? Lin Changyang was reviewing documents. The public notice period for the engineering planning conditions will end in 5 days. And the deadline for bid registration is next Wednesday. Theoretically, there's still time. But you need to submit the company's qualification certificate and project experience certificate. Xian has only been registered for 2 months and doesn't meet the eligibility requirements. What if we submit a joint bid in the name of Huan Capital? That's a different story. Huan Capital has top-notch qualifications in real estate development. Please make an appointment with Mr. Zhao for me. That afternoon, Zhao Jingyuan listened to my suggestion in his office. Then tapped the table twice. You want to use Huan Capital's experience to bid for the Nanqing plot? Yes. Xian will be responsible for project planning and operation, while Huan Capital will provide certification and financial support. Do you know how many people are eyeing that Nanqing plot? Including the Shin Group, the Jing Group, and at least 3 out-of-town real estate companies. I know. But I have an advantage. They don't have the urban renewal plan I devised for the Nanqing plot when I was with the Shin family. I know every waterway, every historical building, and every neighborhood's population structure inside and out. And that plan was never formally submitted. Nian Ning rejected the proposal because she thought it was too risky. So now I have to do it myself. Are you sure you're not doing this to go against Nian Ning? Perhaps not 2 months ago. And not now. I just want to prove that the plan I devised 6 years ago wasn't just wishful thinking, she just doesn't have the guts to do it. Zhao Jingyuan was silent for 5 seconds. Okay. Huan Capital will step forward to participate in the joint bidding. But there's one condition, you must write the bid yourself, you can't delegate it to anyone else. I was planning to write it myself anyway. You have 5 days. 5 days to write a bid that could compete with industry giants. Most people would think this is a fantasy. But I already had a draft of the proposal in my mind, 6 years ago. I went back to my office, closed the door, and wrote for 16 hours straight, only drinking 4 cups of black coffee and eating a packet of soda crackers. The first draft was finished at 4 in the morning, my fingers were so stiff I could barely type. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the dense text and charts on the screen. 6 years ago. That night, when we were drawing up the planning blueprints in the basement, Nian Ning leaned on my shoulder and said, Lu Yen. One day our names will be written on the city's skyline. Now, perhaps only a name remains. But it will no longer be hers. On the 5th day, the final version of the bid was completed. A total of 120 pages. Every piece of data, every traffic flow route, every planning detail was checked at least 3 times. I rushed to the bidding location, the City Planning Exhibition Center, with the printed proposal. The hall was already quite crowded, with representatives from each bidding company occupying a corner, creating a tense atmosphere. I immediately recognized the Shin Group team. Han Ziming personally led a group of 6, all dressed in sharp suits and looking very energetic. He saw me too. His brow furrowed as he strode over. What are you doing here? Making a bid. He sized me up. A mocking expression on his face. Xian Technology, a shell company whose registered capital hasn't even been paid up for 3 months, dares to bid for the Nanqing plot. Joint bid. I showed him the cover of the document in my hand. Xian Technology is cooperating with Huan Capital. Han Ziming's expression froze instantly. Huan Capital. Zhao Jingyuan, he couldn't possibly not know that name was influential in the real estate industry. His gaze turned cold. Lu Yen. Do you think finding an investor can turn things around? Not an investor. A partner. I walked past him toward the registration window. After submitting the documents, I saw an unexpected person on the other side of the hall, Chen Jing. People from Jing's real estate were also preparing their bidding documents. Chen Jing noticed my gaze, slightly raised his chin to look at me, and then did something I didn't expect. He took the initiative to walk up to Han Ziming and start talking to him. I couldn't hear what they were saying. But halfway through, Han Ziming turned around and glanced at me. His eyes filled with calculation. Lin Changyang sent a message, "Watch out for Chen Jing. He may have already contacted Han Ziming. The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend." I only replied with one word, "Understood." The bidding results wouldn't be announced for another 2 weeks. These 2 weeks were the most dangerous period. Sure enough, something happened on the third day. A bucket of red paint was splashed on the door of CN's office. And distorted words were spray-painted on the wall, "Liar. Get out of here." The property management department pulled up the surveillance footage. 2 masked men carried out the attack at 3 in the morning. The police received the report and investigated. But there was no progress in the short term. On the same day, an anonymous post appeared on an industry forum titled "Exposing the Scam of CN Technology. The True Face of Founder Lu Yen. Fabricating a bunch of baseless defamatory materials. Claiming that I forged expense reports, stole company trade secrets, and used improper means to obtain trademarks during my time working at Shen's group." The wording was vicious. And it included numerous seemingly authentic screenshots, all of which were actually fabricated. Within 2 hours, the post was pinned to the top, and the comments section was almost entirely filled with criticism of me. I sat in my paint-splattered office, staring at the words on my phone screen. When Ing called, this post was sent by Han Ziming. "I know the forum administrator. The backend shows the IP address of the post is located in the Shen Group building. Can you take a screenshot as evidence?" "I've already done it. I'll send it to you." "Thank you." "What will you do?" "Let it fly a little longer." After hanging up, I compiled the forum post screenshots, IP tracking screenshots, monitoring screenshots of the paint splatter incident, as well as the financial data and internal emails Ing had given me, into a single file and sent it to Lin Changyang. "Changyang, we can start the second round of litigation. What are the grounds for the lawsuit?" "Defamation and commercial defamation. Also, apply for an investigation order from the court, requiring the Shen Group to submit all of Han Ziming's financial transaction records. If the court approves the investigation order, then all of Han Ziming's overseas accounts will be exposed. Then let them be exposed." After hanging up, I stood up, walked to the door, and opened the glass door splattered with paint. "Let everyone who passed by see." I did this not to gain sympathy, because by then this door will eventually be replaced by a brand new one. And the words written on it won't be lost by the swindlers, it will be CN Technology. The court approved the investigation order, faster than anyone expected. The reason is simple. The preliminary evidence we submitted was sufficient to suggest that there was reason to suspect that the offshore account opened in Han Ziming's name was related to the alleged transfer of company assets. On the same day that Shen's group issued the investigation order, Han Ziming did something that shocked everyone. He fled at 5 in the morning, using one of Nian Ning's supplementary cards to transfer 1.2 million yuan into a private account, and then headed straight for the airport. His destination Singapore. But he didn't make it, because Lin Changyang had applied to the court for a travel ban on Han Ziming 48 hours in advance. And he was stopped at airport customs. Nian Ning received a call from the airport police station at 7 in the morning. According to Ing, after hanging up the phone, she sat motionless in her office chair for a full 10 minutes, then picked up her phone and called Han Ziming. But he didn't answer. She called again. Still no answer. The third call connected. And no one knows what she said on the phone. But from that day on, the situation within the Shen Group changed completely. Han Ziming was officially suspended from his duties and no longer held any management position. His office was sealed off. The company car assigned to him was taken back. And even the locks on the Riverview apartments were changed back to the original locks. Nian Ning personally delivered the new keys. It said she stood in the apartment for a long time watching Han Ziming add things after moving in, and then called a small truck to take everything away, including the chairs she used to store her suit jacket. I only found out about all this later. By the time I heard the news, I was already sitting in CN's new office, with the bidding results for the Nanqing plot laid out before me. Zhao Jingyuan stood behind me, congratulations. Cian Huan Capital Consortium won the bid. My fingers trembled slightly as I looked at the words on the red document. The bidding evaluation committee's opinion was, the proposal combines foresight and practicality, achieving a good balance between protecting the historical features of Nanqing district and revitalizing commercial vitality. Han Ziming's meticulously prepared Shen Group proposal ranked third, and Chen Jingjing's real estate ranked second. Zhao Jinyuan patted my shoulder. I regretted refusing to come to Huan Capital back then for many years. Now it seems that even though you took a detour, you finally got on the right path. It's just that the price is a bit high. Young people have to pay the tuition they owe. I smiled, folded the document, and put it in the drawer. On the day the winning bid was announced, the posts smearing me on the industry forum were deleted by the administrator. In its place, a brand new discussion quickly unfolded. What's going on with Cian Technology? They've only been established for 2 months and they've already won the Nanqing plot. Huan Capital is providing them with support, and Zhao Jinyuan himself is endorsing them. I heard that Cian's founder was originally Lu Yen, the co-founder of Shen's group, who was later kicked out of the group and went solo. This counterattack is too cruel. I closed the forum and opened WeChat. 10 minutes ago, Nian Ning sent a message. I saw the Nanqing plot thing. Congratulations. I looked at it for a few seconds without replying. She sent another message. Lu Yen. Can we meet and talk? Not as the president of Shen's group, but as Shen Yanning. I typed a line and then deleted it, finally replying with just 4 words, tomorrow afternoon. The next afternoon. The meeting place wasn't a restaurant or a coffee shop, but the lobby downstairs from Shen's group headquarters, the place where I had been stopped by security 2 months ago. Nianning was already there, standing where I had just stood, wearing a simple beige coat, without an assistant or bodyguard. Seeing me walk in, the young receptionist instinctively reached out to stop me, but Nianning's voice came from the side, let him in. The receptionist withdrew her hand, looking at me in confusion. I walked up to Nianning, and she said, Lu Yen, I wronged you in this matter. I didn't say anything. She turned and walked towards the elevator. Come up with me. The elevator reached the 36th floor, the president's office of Shen's group. As soon as the door opened, I saw the wall, the oil painting was gone, and the A3 sheet of paper was hanging back up. 6 years ago, I drew the company's development blueprint in pencil. The paper has yellowed and the edges are a bit curled, but every line and every note is still clearly visible. Nian Ning stood by the window with her back to me and said, I had someone dig it out of the storage room. It took 3 people a whole day. I didn't stop Han Ziming when he took it down, but now it's hanging up again. The person who stopped him is no longer here. I didn't look at the blueprint, I looked at her. You didn't call me here just to show me this picture. Did you? Nian Ning turned and walked to her desk, taking a document from a drawer and pushing it across the table. I glanced at it, a share transfer agreement. Shen Nian Ning would transfer 15% of the shares of Shen's group to Lu Yen free of charge, including the legal ruling to recover the original investment and trademark licensing fees. If I signed this agreement, my shares in Shen's group would be worth close to 500 million renminbi, exactly the figure I mentioned earlier. Nian Ning's voice was soft. I accept the amount you mentioned. The exchange terms are a trademark license. The Shen family will continue to use the Nian Ning Bei brand. You retain ownership and receive an annual licensing fee. And you withdraw all lawsuits against the Shen family. Anything else? Nothing else. Where is Han Ziming? Nian Ning's eyes dimmed slightly. I've already spoken to him. He agreed to relinquish all his shares in Shen's enterprises as compensation for misappropriating brand consulting fees. Meanwhile, our marriage, she paused, is being finalized. I glanced at her. When did you start to regret it? Nian Ning didn't respond immediately. She walked to the wall where the blueprints hung and gently touched the drawings. The day I asked Han Ziming to accompany me to register the marriage. After signing the documents, he took me to buy a watch worth 120,000 yuan. At that moment, a thought flashed through my mind. If it were Lu Yen who came to sign today, he would definitely take me to eat a bowl of wontons. Because there's a wonton shop we often go to on the next street. Then I quickly suppressed the thought. But it never disappeared afterward. I stood there listening to her say those words. If it were me 2 months ago, perhaps I would have softened. But not now, Shen Yanning. What you regret isn't choosing the wrong person. What you regret is failing because of the wrong choice. If Han Ziming hadn't coveted that 27 million. If I hadn't found a trademark to use. If Xian hadn't acquired the Nanqing plot. You wouldn't be standing here talking to me about this today. You would have kept me in that tiny 20 square meter room. Waiting for the day you'd remember me and give me 500,000 to get rid of me. Yanning swayed, no. Regardless of whether it is or not. You know best. I had the equity transfer agreement but hadn't signed it yet. I'll take this agreement back to have my lawyer review it. If the terms are fine, I can sign it. But after signing, we will no longer be exes, partners, or friends, but strangers. Yanning's fingers gripped my sleeve tightly. Didn't you ever think, even for a second, that we could perhaps start over? No. I turned and walked towards the door. Lu Yen. I stopped without turning around. Back in the basement. You said you wanted to have our names inscribed on the city skyline with me. Do you remember? I remember. I pushed open the office door. But the name there is no longer Nyening Bay. The elevator doors closed as I reached them. I paused. But it wasn't hesitation. 6 years ago, when I helped her build this building, it was still a ruin. Now it's magnificent and luxurious. With thousands of people coming and going every day. I've stood before it for 6 years, from accompanying her to admire it to being turned away. Today, I'll walk in for the last time. The next building I enter should be my own. Lin Changyang revised the agreement multiple times after reviewing it. And we finalized the version after a week of repeated negotiations. In addition to transferring 15% of the equity, 3 clauses were added. First, Shen's group will pay me 12 million renminbi annually for trademark licensing fees. Second, Shen's group acknowledges Lu Yen as a co-founder of the company and restores the relevant records in official documents. Third, all of Han Ziming's Shen's group equity will be frozen and used to offset the brand consulting fees he misappropriated. On the day of the signing, Nian Ning arrived at Lin Changyang's law firm. She quickly signed her name without moving her pen, then put it down, glanced at me, said nothing, and got up to leave. Lin Changyang watched her figure disappear at the end of the corridor. Then turned around. Are you all right? I've never felt so good. 3 days after the agreement took effect, Han Ziming published a long article on social media, a confession of an abandoned man. In over 3,000 words. He portrayed himself as a pitiful victim, bullied by Nian Ning and Lu Yen. He said Nian Ning toyed with people's feelings and then abandoned them, while Lu Yen was using the trademark for personal revenge. Every word was filled with blood and tears. Every opening sentence brimming with emotion. And some people in the comments section expressed sympathy for him. Lin Changyang then posted 3 screenshots in the comments section. The first was a bank transaction record showing Han Ziming transferring money to overseas accounts every month. The second was an email Han Ziming sent to Nian Ning. I have dealt with Lu Yan's matter. From now on, the company will have nothing to do with him. The third was a screenshot of Han Ziming's social media post from his Riverview apartment. He was wearing a velvet robe and drinking red wine. The title was, All of the Above Are Evidence. Adopted by the court. And everyone knows who the victim is. The tide turned instantly. And the comments section became a sea of public opinion. Han Ziming deleted the long post half an hour later. But the screenshots had already spread across the entire internet. A week later, Nian Ning and Han Ziming's divorce was finalized. And Han Ziming left with nothing. No. That's not accurate. He still owed Lu Yen 27 million yuan. His last public appearance was in a cheap live streaming room where he tried to promote his business as a former president's assistant and a business celebrity. But no one paid any attention. There were at most 9 people in the live stream. 3 of whom were cursing him. Ing told me about it, sending me a screenshot of a WeChat live stream with the caption, Retribution. I neither forwarded nor commented, but simply scrolled through the chat history. I found a post from Han Ziming from 2 years ago. Some people only deserve to rot in the corner, while I will shine in the center. Now the light in the center has faded, and the moldy person in the corner has stepped into the sunlight. Xian Technology's Nanjing project officially broke ground on a sunny day. I stood on the construction site wearing a hard hat and holding the blueprints. Zhao Jingyuan also arrived. Looking like an ordinary site surveyor in his mud-caked sneakers, the conditions of this site are better than I imagined. Your plan is more feasible in practice than it appears on paper. Because I've been perfecting this plan in my mind for 6 years. Song Minen's hotel design team had already moved in. I personally selected the site plans for 4 hotels along 3 historical streets in the southern part of the city. Preserving the atmosphere of the old city while incorporating modern commercial functions, precisely the overly radical part that Nian Ning rejected 6 years ago. Now it was laid out before me. Under the sunlight. The construction site fence bore the logo of Ccertificate. The logo was simple in design, with 2 characters handwritten by me, and a line of smaller print below, in the process of project construction. Say goodbye to the past and move towards the future. Some changes had also occurred within the Shen Group. Nian Ning streamlined the management team, dismissed several trusted executives brought by Han Ziming, and completely restructured the company. Meanwhile, the Nian Ning Bei brand continued to be used under my trademark authorization, with an annual licensing fee of 12 million yuan deposited into my account quarterly. Legally, I remained the holder of the Shen Group's most important brand asset, but I never set foot in the Shen Group building again. 6 months later, the first phase of the Xi'an Nanqing project was topped out. Song Minen's first hotel completed its interior decoration and began trial operation. On opening day, the line of customers waiting for tables stretched from the hotel lobby all the way to the street corner. Guests who had experienced the hotel commented on social media, the most unique hotel in Nanqing. Bar none. A perfect blend of old-town memories and modern comfort. I heard the design concept came from the founder of Ccertificate. He's a genius. At the opening reception, Song Minen approached me with a glass of wine. Xiao Lu. Do you know what makes me happiest today? What? 6 years ago, at the Shen family's construction site, I saw a talented young man buried under someone else's spotlight. Today, he's finally standing in his own spotlight. He clinked glasses with me. Cheers. After the banquet, I stood alone on the hotel rooftop for a while. Countless lights twinkled on the distant city skyline. One skyscraper standing out, the headquarters of the Shen Group. I gazed at it for a few seconds and then turned in another direction. There was another construction site there. The second phase of the Xi'an Nanqing project. In another year, a new building will stand there. Designed by me and named after me. My phone buzzed. It was Nian Ning. For the first time in 3 months. They contacted me with only one sentence. I saw the news about the hotel opening. You did a much better job than I expected. I thought for a moment and replied with just 2 words, thank you. Then I put my phone in my pocket. The autumn wind blew through the roof, bringing a faint smell of construction dust. Not pleasant. But that was the smell of freedom, rugged, real, and her own unique scent. 3 years later, Xi'an Technology's Nanqing project was fully completed. With a total cost exceeding 4 billion yuan. Xi'an Technology's net assets exceeded 15 billion yuan, including ongoing income from trademark licensing and dividends from other projects. My personal net assets exceeded 8 billion yuan. 3 years ago, I could barely afford the rent. At the annual dinner, Lin Changyang raised his glass and said, 3 years ago, when you came to me, I thought you could only get back 30 million at most. Now you've leveraged 30 million people to generate 30 billion. It wasn't that I used it, they paved the way for me. Nian Ning and Han Ziming. If they hadn't pushed me to the brink, I might have spent my whole life hiding behind her. Lin Changyang smiled. So you mean you should thank them? No. Thank you. But I don't hate them anymore. Hatred is too much effort. I'd rather use my energy to make money. Ying was also at the table. She's now the marketing director. She put down her glass. Lu Yen. I have something to tell you. Shen's group hasn't been doing well lately. After Han Ziming left, Nian Ning thought everything would be alright. But in fact, Han Ziming left behind too many time bombs. Flaws in the paperwork for multiple projects led to the breakdown of many client relationships. Furthermore, the trademark licensing fees you charge them annually are a fixed expense. And their cash flow is very tight. I heard she's been considering bringing in strategic investors recently. I listened quietly. What do you think? Regarding the Shen family, you hold 15% of the shares and are also the owner of the brand trademark. If you want, you can even. But I don't want to. I interrupted her. The Shen family is Nian Ning's business, it has nothing to do with me anymore. I've paid off my debts from my past life. She didn't say anything more. After the party, I went home, no longer to that tiny 20 square meter studio, but to a duplex apartment I designed in the Xi'an Nanqing project. I pushed open the door. The living room was spacious and bright, furnished with furniture I had chosen myself. The sofa was walnut, the same model as the one I used in the Riverside apartment back then, not because my aesthetic sense was particularly good at the time. I walked onto the balcony with a glass of water in my hand, the city light spreading out beneath my feet. 3 years ago, I lay in that cramped rented apartment staring at the cracks in the ceiling. Now I stood on the balcony I designed, overlooking the entire city. My phone lit up. Breaking news, according to reports. The well-known real estate company Shen's Group is facing cash flow problems. And CEO Shen Yanning was photographed leaving the company alone late at night. The attached photo shows Yanning walking alone outside the Shen's Group building, without an assistant or driver, wearing a dark coat, head down, her back looking very thin. I looked at it for 2 seconds and then scrolled away. A wind picked up outside the window. Autumn had come again. And the autumn in this city was becoming increasingly mundane. Like the ending of some stories. Not any dramatic changes. Just the wind blowing the leaves down. And once they fall, they never rise again. 5 years later, Xi'an Technology's annual revenue exceeded 50 billion. The Nanqing project became a benchmark case for urban renewal, included in the business school textbooks of 3 universities. I was invited back to my alma mater to give a speech, with 500 students sitting below the stage. Someone asked me, "Mr. Liu, what's the most important lesson you learned from starting your own business?" I thought for a moment. Don't write your name on other people's paper. After the speech, a girl came up to me with a notebook and asked for my autograph. After a moment's hesitation, she asked, "Mr. Liu, may I ask you one more question?" "Go ahead." "Someone online said you and Shen Yanning of the Shen Group had a relationship. Do you still think about her?" I smiled. "Who?" The girl paused for a moment, then smiled too. As I walked out of the school gate, Lin Changyang's car was parked on the side of the road. "Come in. I have something to tell you." The Shen Group officially announced its bankruptcy reorganization today. Yanning transferred all of her personal shares to creditors. I sat in the passenger seat and fastened my seatbelt. "How is she?" "I heard she plans to go back to her hometown alone." The car started and merged into traffic. The Shen Group building flashed past the window. The giant sign on the roof had been removed, leaving only a few screw holes as traces. "Are you going to see her?" Lin Changyang asked. "Are you sure?" "Of course. 6 years ago, I took that half of the photo out of my wallet." "No. 11 years have passed." A young man covered in mud on a construction site smiled, his eyes curving into crescent shapes. "That was me." The other half of the photo had long been thrown in the trash. I also took out my half of the photo and looked at it carefully, then folded it and put it back in my wallet, not because I still cared, but because the young man in the photo made me realize how far I had come. The car stopped at the intersection, waiting for the red light. A large LED screen on the street corner was playing a promotional video for Xi'an Technology. The last shot lingering on a panoramic view of the Nanqing project, blue bricks and gray tiles intertwined with modern glass curtain walls, blending everyday warmth with the urban atmosphere. The Xi'an logo appeared in the lower right corner of the screen. My handwriting. The green light came on. The car continued to move forward. When I got home that night, the apartment was very quiet. There was a potted green ivy on the balcony, a housewarming gift I brought last month. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the distant city skyline. The lights in the Shen Group building were off, plunging the area into complete darkness. But nearby, the second phase of Xi'an South Green was brightly lit, construction teams working overtime to meet deadlines. The third phase of the commercial complex was expected to open next year. The doorbell rang, and I went to open the door. A deliveryman stood at the door, holding a small package. "Mr.Liu, your package has no sender information." I signed for it and opened the package. Inside was an A3 sheet of paper, one corner folded. My fingers paused slightly as I unfolded it. It was a blueprint for the Shen family's development plan that I had drawn in pencil in the basement 6 years ago. Nian Ning retrieved the blueprint from the storage room, pasted it on the back of the paper, and hung it back on the wall. A line of text was written in ballpoint pen, although the handwriting was messy. I could recognize it as Nian Ning's. "This photo belongs to you, return it to the rightful owner." Below was an even smaller line, "Sorry I'm late." I folded the blueprint and went to the study. Opening the bottom drawer. Inside was a stack of documents, Cian's first business plan, its first winning bid notification, and its first client contract. I placed the blueprint at the very bottom, not because I dared not look, but because it had become part of the past. As I closed the drawer, my phone screen lit up. A message from Cian's brand department, Mr.Lu. 3 naming schemes have been proposed for the Phase 3 commercial complex. When do you have time to decide which one to choose? I looked out the window at the distant lights for a moment. Then replied. No other alternatives are needed. Let's call it, the distant place, for now. After sending the message, I turned off the light and stood in the darkness. The city outside the window was like an inverted Milky Way, each light telling a story. Some lights were on. Some were off. Some were never lit. But new lights would always be lit. Lin Changyang later told me that after Nian Ning returned to her hometown, she opened a small hotel in a small town. A tiny place with only 8 rooms. Called Old House. Can you guess why she chose that name? I didn't guess. Nor did I want to. Some things don't need answers. Just as some people don't need to be seen again. 10 years later. In the autumn. Ccertificate Technologies' market capitalization surpassed $100 billion. And I was invited to give a keynote speech at the Urban Development Forum. At the end of my speech, the host asked me, Mr. Lu, if you could give one piece of advice to young people just starting out in business, what would it be? I looked at the 500 pairs of eyes below the stage and said one sentence, be sure to write your own name on your own piece of paper. Applause erupted like a tidal wave. I stepped off the stage, walked through the crowd, and pushed open the venue's doors. The sunlight outside was perfect, and the autumn breeze carried the sweet fragrance of osmanthus blossoms. I stood on the steps, let out a long sigh, and then smiled, for no reason. Just because I felt it was wonderful to be alive.